Welcome to Moment with Titi. This is a show that has been designed to talk about faith, to talk about lifestyle, entertainment, education, and everything in between. We get to talk about things that people are facing and the challenges facing people in the world, and we get to talk about it and bring solutions to them. My name is Titi, and I'm your host. On today's program, I have a gentleman with me who will be assisting me in talking about today's topic. And I would like to introduce you to my guest. He's a senior leader in the Pacesetters Church. So welcome, Minister Brandon.
Thank you.
And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Today's show is special. I have with me also an audience, yes, an audience who will be participating and asking questions based on relationships, what we look for in men, what to look for in women, the interference of culture in our understanding of what to look into, and everything in between will be asked today. So if you are yet to subscribe, this is an opportunity extended to you. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and you'll be getting very good content. Thank you for joining us today. So I would like to throw the question and introduce us to our audience. I'm sure there's somebody who is ready with a question to ask. The topic that we are looking to is relationship in general. So I will ask somebody from the audience who would like to ask the first question. Anything about relationship, anything about what to look for in a man or a woman. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Shola. So I know relationship is not one size fits all, meaning different strokes for different folks. What I want to ask is more like a balance. I need a balance in this. My wife loves things like, okay, she says I don't show affection, enough affection. And in my own way, I feel I show too much affection in the sense that I show her love in the sense that I don't want her to do probably most of the house chores. I get her gifts if I need to. And I could go as far as even getting her a car or even buying a house, but the little things she wants, like flowers, body massage, those are not my kind of thing, all right? So in that regard, she says I don't show her enough affection. So which advice would you give to someone like me?
Thank you, Shola, for that question. The issue of affection, it's an important thing in a relationship. It's a glue in a relationship. What I would advise is to understand what your wife really wants as, or what she defines as affection. For example, if you buy a car and that is not affection to her, you will be thinking, I've bought you the most expensive car. Why don't you get it? But in our own definition of affection, getting a car is not one of it. So I would advise that you sit down with your wife. Let her give you examples of what she defines as affection. Then it will point to what you can do to show affection, since you are interested in doing that anyway. So let her guide you on our definition of what affection is to her. I hope I've been able to help you with that.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. I think the next person can ask his or her own question. Next person, the microphone can be passed to the second person. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Angelina. So my question is, we live in a generation where we are mixed with people from all over. So now, if you get yourself, you find yourself rather dating someone who's from a different culture, all these intercultural relationships. With the new generation, we are cool with each other. We are free, we understand each other. But then one has to always remember that our older generations, which will be the aunts, the uncles, they're at times a bit stiff, and they hold on to tradition and all those things. How do you go about trying to be yourself, but still try and, I don't want to say please as in please, but then for lack of better word, please the older generation, the aunts, the uncle, without being disrespectful? Because your partner might be cool with you the way you are, but they might feel, oh, she's like this, she does this. No, she's not. She doesn't respect us. Oh, she doesn't do dishes. No, she doesn't respect. No, she doesn't carry this for you. No, she's being disrespectful. So how do we balance that? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Brother B, will you attempt to provide some answer to the question that has been asked?
Okay, thank you, Angelina, for that question. I think as a couple, you have to create a balance and understand your in-laws, be it your father-in-law or your mother-in-law. I'll give an example with me, with my partner. In the house, I can absolutely do anything in the absence of my father-in-law or my personal mother. But when there is visitors, there are compromises that you have to make to ensure that there is stability. There are certain responsibilities until they get to understand that. I'll say for them, since they are around, for example, we will shift these responsibilities and balance them to ensure that they don't feel like their son is being abused or their daughter is being abused, to create that balance. But within you guys as a couple, you understand how things run in the family. And in terms, I heard you speaking about respect. It's not everything that you do at once. Everything is progressive. You cannot expect your in-laws or your parents or everyone to understand how things are supposed to run. Do not shock the system. Understand that you are living in 2 generations, so you do not necessarily have to shock the system. Introduce the changes gradually. Make them understand. For example, I come from a family in which I come from an environment in which with my wife, the family is so closely clicked. Whereas in my family, they can understand that you can be away for a year. So for the first time, it was such a shock in their system that their daughter has to spend the Christmas away and not with their family. And the father-in-law actually called me, and I understood that the call was not actually a greeting call. It was a call to say, when are you guys coming home? But I had to strategically bring the budget in and say, we'll see how to work things out, and answer him. But it was still respectfully. Respect, you can show it, and at the same time ensure that your parents, from the in-laws or your physical parent or your biological parents, they do not cross the boundaries. Sister Bola also spoke about the aspect of that your partner, which applies to both the husband and the wife, they must be able to defend you. It's not only the husband that must defend you in the presence of their parents. That equally applies with the wife, to be able to defend you and know what your family or the values you stand for as a family. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. I think just to add on to that, I would like to say that he said something very important, that don't shock the system. I'm taking that home with me. Introduce whatever there is new to this older generation gradually, so that, because you still want a relationship with them, so that you don't shock them and they don't see your action as you are shutting them out of your life. You still want them, therefore introduce the different culture that you are living into them. Introduce it to them gradually and not shocking them. I hope that has been able to help many of us today. All right. I would like to ask more questions today. Can I give another person a chance to ask questions about relationships, about... Okay, there's somebody who wants to ask a question, yes.
Hi, my name is Abel. My question is, say one is in a relationship and financially you're doing well, and along the line things go wrong, and the lady decides to leave, and she leaves, and within that time things get better and she tries to come back. So what would be your advice? Should the guy take her back or no?
Thank you for the question. If you watch our video on what women want, we did mention there that should your man fall on a hard time, it's not the time to bail out. It's not time to now quit. I mean, falling on hard time doesn't mean it's time for me to pack my bag and go. So if a woman does that and wants to come back, definitely you need to ask some fundamental questions. I mean, it's obvious. You need to ask questions. You need to know where you're going. Are you comfortable with this behavior? Should such a pattern repeat itself in your finances? Are you going to go through the same pattern? She packs up and she leaves again. Then when you're fine, she's coming back. So you need to make a decision if that is what you want. But I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. So you need to read in between the lines and be honest with yourself. You need to be honest with yourself. I will always say this thing. You need to do the hard thing that you don't want to do, but you know you need to do them. They are hard, but you know you need to do them to move on. So you have to take a decision on that. Personally, I wouldn't encourage anybody to go on that pattern of life. It disrupts your life. You can't make progress with that, even though I'm a woman. But that would be my advice to you. I hope I've been able to help you this evening. All right, then. Thank you so much for that question. Any other question in the audience? Yes, thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Brian.
Yes.
I just want to ask something.
Yes.
Before I ask this question, I have a statement to make. I've seen older women from back in the generation marry younger guys. But now, with this generation, what is it that makes it hard for them to accept a younger man as their partner? Where is the problem?
Okay, I think Minister Brandon will assist us to answer the question.
Why is it a problem that older women are having a challenge of marrying younger women nowadays? My response will be that it is actually happening more often these days that you've got older women marrying younger guys. And in my sphere of contacts with my colleagues, it's actually a trend that among young professionals, young men, they find themselves attracted to older women because, if I could also relate when I talk to them, it is the fact that when they look at older women, they seem to be a bit more focused. Not to say the younger women are not focused. It seems that they've got their mind made up of what it is they want in a man. They have settled within them that these are the things that I'm looking out for on a man. So I would say if a younger man, Brian, not to be saying I'm challenging you this on one-on-one, let us also look within ourselves if we're having a challenge with older women, unless your statement is generalized. But also in terms of respect, I will say that there are older women that are married to younger women and they respect them. And also we have to look into the fact that the respect is mutual. If the respect is it's a two-way street. If you show the respect as a man, the woman will give it back to you twofold. Actually, it will just multiply. For example, if you show affection to a woman, it comes more loaded in a way that you feel is getting too much. I'm talking from experience in that aspect. So something that you give to the woman, she'll give you back in multiplication. So that's what I will say. On the aspect of respect, I think it's a decision that, or something that takes place within a family, but it just has to be mutual for it to work. I don't know if Pastor Titi, you've got comments on that.
Okay, I would like to add on to that. In my own experience, I think there are more older women marrying younger men in our days. And I need to clarify, when we are saying older women, we are not talking about somebody who is 15, 20 years older. In my opinion, what we are talking about, maybe she's 5 years older, 3 years older, few months older, that bracket of age. But I think what I'm experiencing, I'm seeing it more these days, that younger men are marrying older women. And as in terms of respect, I will second what Minister Brandon has said. If you give somebody respect, that person will respect you back. So if you don't respect, then you are not going to get it. So don't sit because I'm a man, respect me, irrespective of whatever. You are not going to get it. You give respect. It's a mutual thing. She will give you respect, irrespective of the age gap. So I hope I've been able to answer that question.
All right. Thank you for answering the question. I have one more. We know women are more like incubators. Whatever you give them, they nurture it and bring it back to life. So therefore, how much communication do you think we should have with our spouse? Is it everything we should communicate about? For example, if I receive a phone call from a friend, do you think I should share that communication with my spouse?
If I would attend to that, Minister Brandon will also, shed more light. I think if I receive every every phone call that I receive, I need to immediately report myself. I think it's starting to border on obsession, if I may put it that way. I don't have to, every conversation, to have to share unless there's a problem. But if we have mutual understanding and respect and a healthy relationship, of course, we are going to get to talk about things that goes on in our lives, our daily activities. When you get back from work, you're going to talk about whoever was nice to you, was ugly to you, whoever cut you off while you were driving, stuff like that. We get to exchange this communication. We talk about them generally. But to now make a demand, every call you receive, you need to tell me. You need to report it. I think there's a little problem there. I think there's a problem there. It's not normal. Yes.
Okay, I would like to contribute to that.
Yes.
I just want to say that in a relationship, communication builds bonds. And when people don't communicate, then the bond becomes very fragile. And it's based on things that can easily be whisked away. Like, okay, you guys might, I mean, if you're married, have a great sex life, but if you don't have good communication, after a while that wanes and then the marriage becomes really fragile. And so something I notice with men particularly, just responding to you, is that they find it that they only have to talk to you about things that are important. Like, you know, if a lion pounces on them on the way to work, then they'll tell you. But if something else happens, something that seems, you know, mundane, they don't want to talk about it. But I always say that it's in the mundane that you build the bond. When you come and you're like, oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe the traffic I ran into today. That builds a bond because then your partner hears, oh, you were in traffic, you know, and what did you do while you were in traffic? And that creates conversation. We don't have to always talk like we're project managers in a relationship.
Yeah.
Now there's a problem and we need to like address the problem. So I think that communication is important. Just focusing on the mundane and the important things that happen to you every day. Sharing that with your partner, it builds friendship. We always say friendship is a precursor to marriage, but like even within the marriage, you continue building the friendship. So it doesn't always have to be when you guys want to talk about the kids or you want to talk about money or you want to talk about the in-laws. You should also be able to laugh about weird things. It makes the relationship stronger, in my opinion.
Thank you for your contribution. I totally agree with you. Thank you so much.
My name is Bola. Is a kind, I will start from my thinking, then I will lead it to a question.
Okay.
This issue of dating still confuses me.
All right.
Because what I grew up to understand as a Christian lady is that when a man is ready to go into a relationship or a lady is ready to go into a relationship and they've prayed and they know that this is the person, the intention from day one is that this relationship is leading into marriage. But what I see in this generation is that we want to do dating, we want to date. So this date is, I try to ask people, they try to explain, still I get confused. What is it actually all about? And at what point, or to what extent will a dating continue, then you know that, okay, it's no more a date, it's no more, we are no more dating or something. To what, how long will it take for a lady to realize, no, this is no more a dating, maybe I should allow another guy and date another. I get confused each time. So maybe you can throw more light on that. Is dating really something we should go into as Christians, or we should know from day one that this relationship is heading into something? And if we are dating, how long should it take for one of the partners to just realize we are just wasting our time?
All right. Thank you so much. Minister Brenda, do you want to tackle that? I can see you smiling. Please go ahead.
It's a very, very interesting question. What I will say from my understanding, from a guy's perspective,
Okay.
and with obviously balancing it with the word, when you approach a lady sincerely as a person loving God, your intentions are not just to exploit her, or if I can be as honest as possible, or just to sleep with her and just enjoy myself. Your intentions is that I think I like this lady, I wanna marry her, you know. So that is the goal, that is the intention. But You can only know when you start building a relationship with that person as you spend more time with her, which we call dating, that is your spirit in agreement with what you are getting from this person? Are you at peace with the person that you are getting to know? I'll give you an example with this. I think with my wife, it took me about a year to actually, almost a year, 1.5 years, to settle it in my heart that this is the person for me to move forward with. And that process of dating is what gave me the confidence to say, indeed, this is the right person. Yes, I was at peace to approach her, but the process of dating, which is getting to know someone, spending time with them, knowing what is important to them, understanding what are their core values, their principles, are they loving God? It took me 1.5 years to get to that point and say, indeed, I was right to approach this person. But I can give you an example. If I can go home, close home, personally in my own home, I received a shocker when one of my closest people, actually one of my siblings, they made the decision much more quicker than me. So it becomes a problem when you use a standard of time of your own of 1.5 years that you can make that decision and say, can you please marry me? When someone makes it much quicker than you or much later than you, it's either you think it's too soon, the decision is immature, or it will end up wrong. If they make it later, you say they were playing. So there's a lot of governing things that one has to look into and understand that the Holy Spirit works within us differently to reach a certain point and to reach a certain decision. That's what I would like to say. It's a very technical question. It would actually, on its own, it can be a question that can be explored fully on its own. Pastor Titi?
All right, thank you for your answer. I would just like to touch on a bit on what you have said. She wants to know this thing called dating, and what is it? I believe dating is that period where you are interested in settling down, marry somebody, and that period of dating is to get to know them. This is when you get to know their values, their take on life, where they are going to, what vision they have, what they intend to achieve in life, and all that. Obviously, we cannot pretend that we don't know. Some people are not really thinking that way. Some guys want to date, and some ladies now, we shouldn't say guys alone. Some ladies want to date just for the fun of it. I've heard that again and again. And they've asked, what is the big deal? What is wrong with that if you want to do that? That is my goal and objective. So some people tend to do that. However, this is what I think, that period of dating is to get to know each other. Get to know where you are going in life. Is your vision complementing mine, or we are going to be clashing, so that I can make my decision and I know what to do with this journey that we are about to embark on. So dating is a period of getting to know one another. Obviously, there are other things that happen in dating that, according to Christian values, we do not, stand for that, but they take place during dating. And as a Christian person, I do not stand for that, because that is not my value. I'm speaking for myself personally. But dating is a period where you get to know this other person so that you can make an informed decision. Should I go with this person? Should I not go with person? So I hope I've been able to answer the question. Did I leave anything out? I hope you are more comfortable with that answer. Any other question?
Okay, my question is, it's pretty much common sense that African men generally, okay, let me not generalize, most of them, they lack in the romance department. They're not really that affectionate. Like Brashola said, I mean, I know back in the days when our fathers want to be romantic is when they bought maybe the nicest meat that the mom likes or can cook. I mean, that was their way of showing affection. But I've noticed that people, because of that, a lot of African men feel that, okay, yes, African men are not really romantic, but they feel women know how to show affection. Like it's something that just common sense, like for them, for all of us, which is not true, because there's a minority that actually struggles to show affection. But then how do you let people like that know that, listen, yes, I am a woman, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to show my affection very well. I mean, I still have a good heart. I mean, my heart is not made out of stone or anything. It bleeds and all that, but I do not know how to show affection. I cannot be doing all these things that people do that they expect me to be doing. You know, they expect ladies to be clingy, to be this, to be that. Meanwhile, you as someone who's not that, find it extremely difficult and sometimes annoying.
Okay. I think affection is important in a relationship, especially relationship that is tending towards marriage and marriage relationship. Affection is very important. Now, not all of us were taught by our parents what to do in order to show affection. In fact, in African culture, men were not taught to show affection in the way it is expected now. The way affection is being described now, it's totally different to what affection used to be. For example, when we say love, you know, when people talk about love, they talk about celebrated love. This guy kneeling down and proposing, it's like love. We talk about that celebrated love. But beyond that, the real love is what is patient, what is not irritable, what is not resentful, and all that. So coming back to your question, affection in the present day has a different definition. So what I would say is both men and women need to give attention to what is going on in society, how the culture has been changed and shifted, so that we can move and understand and act accordingly. I'm not saying change your culture, but you are aware of the shift. You are aware of what is going on. And then you can now see how to accommodate some of this expression. Like I answered earlier on, I said, know your spouse's, what we call it love language. Know what is affection to your partner. Know what is love to your partner, and then you can express it that way. But I will tell you one thing: whether we are well educated with 10 PhDs, we have conquered the world, we are the president of 10 countries. When we get married, there are certain things we still perform in that marriage. It's part of being married. For example, for a woman, you're still going to take care of the kids, you are still going to cook, you are still going to clean. If the cleaning is what you can't do due to your schedule, you can always get somebody to do that. But there are some things that you will still do, just the same way for men. There are still things that men are going to do in that relationship. Like we expect the men to pay the bills, to be there, to be nurturing, to father, and all that. If men are expected to do that, there is a version for the woman. So we must meet each other in the middle. There is what is expected of men. There are things we are expected of women. So therefore, let's come to the middle and talk about it. And then we can move forward from there. But when we sit in our corners, we decide this is what affection is on our own without talking to our partners and our spouses, then we'll be making mistakes. I have to learn what is my husband's love language. His love language is totally different from mine. I don't get it. I'm thinking, how can this be something expressing love to you? But okay, if this is what love means to you, then that is what I'm going to do. So I think the same thing, everybody should do that in their relationship.
Is that with this generation that we have today, with me personally, I have a big problem with them.
Okay, what is the problem?
Especially the ladies.
Okay.
The ladies now have a mentality of when they want to date a guy or want to settle for a marriage, they want to settle for a guy who's already made up, right? And most of this relationship whereby a guy has everything does not end well. It always ends in tears, 90% of it. But going back to the people that I've seen that I do admire, the guys were nothing. They started dating. The lady was working. The guy was nothing, but the guy was working towards something. The lady supported the guy up until he became something, respected the guy, supported him to nurture his dream. But what is it that is a problem now with this generation that we have today?
All right, somebody has something to say about that comment.
First of all, I just wanted to say about the question that Angelina asked, where she said something about affection. And I always say I am partially clingy, depending on how I'm feeling. But on most days, I'm not clingy at all. I'm just a very direct talker. But it doesn't mean I don't love you. I mean, my mom even said she just had to learn how I communicate because she found it very odd. If my mom says, oh, I'm not feeling well, I'll call her and check on her, but I'm not the type who would call her and be like, so have you taken 10 medications? Have you been to the doctor? I don't like fussing over people. So I always say the important thing is to just find your tribe and find people who truly understand you and who have built a friendship with you long enough to understand how you show affection. If you get into a relationship very quickly with a guy, then he might not know that about you because you guys haven't built that friendship, and so it becomes a bone of contention of sorts. So that said, the question about women wanting men who have money, I really find it very odd that we like policing the choices of women in this day and age. When men want to get married or they want to choose a partner, a man would say, oh, I want a lady who is slim and tall and educated and da da da. Nobody ever says, why don't you go for a lady who's like not that? We actually don't say that to men. And probably because we don't consider those things to be material, we see them as traits that women have. But the reality is that men do go for the women that they like. Okay? And now when women want to do the same, suddenly everybody's up in arms and everybody's like, oh, you know, she only wants the money, she only wants this. I would say that in this day and age, what's actually happening is that women are achieving more. And because women are achieving more, they want men who match them. Because they've seen, people say, oh, you know, if you get married with one chair, and again, I always use this because older couples tend to say it a lot, when we got married, we only had one chair. Okay, that's good, that's all fun, but also you need to realize that they were in a different time, and they were probably at the same level when they both had that one chair. Now, you have a woman who has a whole couch, her apartment is fully furnished, she's doing well, and you are expecting her to just adopt you. You're not even trying to show her any sense of loyalty. You just feel this sense of entitlement that she needs to pick you because if she supports you, you will get to your dreams. I find that very interesting and also very troubling because I wonder, I mean, if you didn't meet this woman, would you not achieve your dreams? So why does she have to adopt you and support you for you to get there? That's the reality. Why don't you go for someone who's actually where you're at and can meet you toe to toe? Why are you always aiming for the women who are like over there so that you can have things to complain about? That to me is very odd. Because if I want to date a guy, I don't go looking for Dangote. Because I know, like, I mean, look at me, yeah, he could. But the point is just that, I mean, he probably has his own traits. Maybe he wants a Muslim woman. I'm not Muslim. So now imagine I start crying around the block that, oh, you know, all these rich men looking for Muslim women. That would be very odd. So I think that when men ask this question and we don't police the choices of men, it makes me feel some type of way. I feel like if you're a guy, go for a woman who understands you where you're at. But irrespective of what she has, it doesn't have to be about money. You are the one making it about money. Because it seems as though you're shooting for women who are already there. So why not just shoot differently? Change the target. If you can't hit the target you're aiming for, change it. Change it. Start somewhere. You also start somewhere with a woman who doesn't have, so that you can both tell the story of one chair. Then it works. That's my opinion.
All right. Thank you for your contribution, Demi. I think Brian wants to say something, then we'll be rounding up.
But there are ladies who don't have anything. Like, they don't have anything. But they'll be saying, I want a rich man. Yet themselves are not rich. They say, I want a man who can buy me a champagne. But yet themselves are not rich. So what do you say about those people?
I love it when men put a boot on their hands and then press it against their necks and then complain about it. Because the reason why women have those desires in the first place is because we set that expectation that that is what a woman should want from a man. We set the expectation that men should be providers, right? We set the expectation that women go into relationships, they support a man's vision. He goes out, he does all the work, she does all the stuff in the house. So she's holding down the fort while he's out there, and he must bring home the bacon. Now, we are in a situation economically, socially, where men are not always able to meet the role of a provider. And now women are saying, well, I'm still holding on to the expectation of society, But now we have a problem with it. Now men are saying, oh, why do you want a man who can provide? This is not with this generation. Back in the day, you couldn't just rock up at somebody's house and say, I want to marry your daughter, and the only thing you've come with is your dirty feet. They wouldn't even say anything to you. They would ask you what you've got. This is, where did the thing of bride price come from? And what does it show? If we want to be honest with ourselves, in African culture, why do men pay bride price? Because they're trying to prove they can take care of the woman. So it didn't start with this generation. Now it's just in a different context, because now she wants a house, or she wants a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or whatever. So it's a different context. But the point is, right from time, men had always been expected to provide. But now, because situations have changed economically, women are earning well, and other women who are not even earning well are still saying, well, I still want a man who's going to take care of me. Men are now like, oh, you know, you're so materialistic. That's not how it works. You can't want tradition and not want tradition at the same time. You've got to pick one.
We've heard comments from both a lady and a gentleman concerning that. So I would think we need to round up now because of time. So the last question to be asked now, Abel will ask his question and then we'll round up. Thank you, Dami, for your contribution, and thank you, Brian, for your contribution.
My question is, as an African man, and as a Christian, we see the way it goes these days. You do the traditional marriage and the white wedding. And as an African man, we're recognized to do traditional marriage because that's where you pay the bride price. And when you've paid the bride price, it means automatically you've married the woman. So is it compulsory for you to do traditional marriage as an African man and do a white marriage at the same time?
Thank you for your question. Minister Brandon, do you want to tackle that question?
Thank you, sir, for that question. I think for me to respond to your question, I have to, first of all, say, as a man, you are African. Yes, I am also African, but if you were to define your identity, who are you? First and foremost is that I am a child of God. And what is it that you recognize that you'll say now, I am united, we are one with my wife? The most important aspect is that that marriage is committed to God, and God recognizes that marriage. And how does that happen as a child of God? If that marriage is recognized by a servant of God and you are blessed as partners, as husband and wife. I'll give an example. Like for myself, when we got married, we followed everything. We paid the bride price. And it's something that I want to also touch on my sister Debbie. I remember when I got married, it came to my ears. As much as my father-in-law was so loving, he said it came to my ears that the bride price should be paid in full because you said you are a man, then you have to get married. So, in addition to that, our identity says we are children of God. Yes, we pay the bride price. It is our culture. It is to respect our elders, and it's something that we should continually do in pride. But for that union to be identified by God as children of God, it has to be blessed by a man of God to recognize the marriage and that you are united and God recognizes the marriage. In terms of traditional wedding and white wedding, I believe the two are the same. It's just an issue of culture. You can marry traditionally as Tswanas and Swatis, or as Igbo and Vendas uniting together. That is a marriage. But what recognizes each in the spiritual as the two of you being united is that was there a recognition and it was committed spiritually by a servant of God to say they're binding the two of you to be husband and wife. So there's no difference. A marriage is a marriage, whether traditionally or white wedding.
Thank you, Minister Brandon, for that. I will quickly touch on that, and we'll need to round up quickly. The traditional wedding that we all know in Africa and white wedding, we don't necessarily have to do both. It's like getting married twice. But one important thing that the minister has mentioned is when you get married, remember, marriage is a product from God. It's not man's idea. you need a representative of God to bless that marriage. So you need to get the blessing of your parents, you get blessing of both parents on both sides, they agreed, you get the blessing, and there must be a man that represents God. When I say man that represents God, it doesn't mean you have to buy the big wedding dress and fill up the whole auditorium and have big, huge wedding. It's a thing that can take place on the same day of your traditional wedding. As you are doing that traditional wedding, you have already invited a man of God, arrangement has been made, that man of God will bless you in the presence of your family. It is acceptable. So far, God is involved in it. So that is what I will prescribe, and my answer will be, two of them are the same thing. It's like getting married twice. Even though culturally we have done it, two of them together for years, and it has been accepted to be the standard, but it doesn't have to be. Thank you for that. So on that note, we'll be rounding up. We've spent time here today together. I want to thank everyone that is sitting here that has been part of this show today. Everyone that have asked questions, all your contributions, they are well appreciated. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to say thank you, Minister Brandon, for coming on the show. To round up the show, I will leave us with this thought. We as Christians will believe that God is important in our relationship. If you go on the internet, there are tons of advice on relationships. But all this advice tend to do one thing. They take out God from that relationship. So we on this show are saying that God is the owner or the originator of marriage. And therefore, God must be involved in your marriage. The same thing I would say, that love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering. Love is not vengeful. It's not resentful. And these are the attributes that the Bible has described as love. So I want to encourage every one of us that love is important, and all of us need to know when we're getting into a relationship that we have different qualities we are looking for. And these qualities matter to every one of us, both male and female. You have to look for that quality that are important to you and be able to say, I am okay with this. Don't just get married without pinpointing those qualities. And I will leave you on that note. Hope we've been able to entertain you. Hope we've been able to answer your questions. Thank you once again. And if you're yet to subscribe, can you please do so and subscribe? Go to our YouTube channel, The Pacesetters Church, and you'll find our content being uploaded. And I trust that you'll have a great time. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you, everyone.